Welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Sean Anderson for Ponca City Public Schools. And on this edition of Coach's Corner, we're going to be talking with the head coach of the Poe High football team, Coach Scott Harmon. A little bit later in the next segment, we'll be talking to Jenny Hinterreiter, the head volleyball coach for Poe High. That's coming up on this edition of Coach's Corner. And we start with Coach Scott Harmon. Tough game. It was a tough loss. Sand Springs. Tell us about that game and what did you see and what positives did your team take from that experience?
You know, our defense played really well, kept us in the ball game at 7-0 at half. Pretty late in the third quarter, we score. We finally get on the board to make it 14-7, and then we're right in there in that ball game. Then we give up a big kickoff return probably to the best offensive player, and that kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit defensively. We got to do a better job of moving the chains, giving our defense a rest. We had way too many 3-and-outs for our style of football and for us to win. We had one turnover in the special teams. We also had, another interception. So we've got to limit those mistakes and then just do everything we can to give our defense some rest when we've got possession of the football.
Yeah, Coach Harmon is our guest on this edition of Coach's Corner. Coach, players that you could really see some improvement out there on the field, maybe players that you've noticed have just been working their tail off in practice, in the weight room. Can you give some shout outs?
You bet. We got to start with Cameron Jackson. I probably should have mentioned him last week on the show. Cameron's had two really, really good weeks, 198 in week 2, and then we skip a game, and then he comes back with another 170 last week. So he's really maturing and kind of getting into his groove there as the running back. He's very small, but he's very powerful. He's also doing a great job blocking that, and we asked him to do that. And that's something that when he was a younger kid, he really didn't do very well. But man, he's very extremely powerful, and he may be our best blocker on the edge right now. So you got to give him a lot of credit there. I want to credit our offensive line because they're always challenged a little bit. People will stack the box and put 8 or 9 people in the box, so it makes it tough on them offensively. I thought Nate Harbison did a good job. Tabe Stanton did a good job coming in at the F where we've got a little bit of injury. So those who kind of shined on offense a little bit. And defensively, Trey Seward, James Godfrey, and Nate Collins really did a good job up front, putting some pressure on the quarterback with three down linemen. So I was really proud of them. Once we got kind of wore down, they made a couple of plays there and we didn't. So I don't feel like they're 25 points better than us, but they played better than us, so they deserve the win.
There you go. The Wildcats taking it on the road this Friday, Choctaw, and Choctaw has scheduled this game as their homecoming. As a coach and a team, does that put a little more fire in your practice as you prepare for this game? I mean, it's their homecoming, but you want to go down there and get a W. What does that do for your team when you realize that you're scheduled for someone's homecoming?
When I first got here and the program was in the shape it was in, we were pretty accustomed to almost, pretty regularly any road game throughout the year was a chance to be homecoming because people like to win homecomings. I'm kind of old-fashioned on homecoming. That's really not my gig. I gotta kind of concentrate on what goes on between the lines, and all of that extra stuff is really on other people. So it's hard to get kids to focus sometimes during homecoming week because you've got so many other extracurricular activities going on and things of that nature. So head football coaches generally aren't real big fans of homecoming, whether they're at home or on the road, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it's too many distractions, right?
It is, and I get it, man. We want to welcome our alumni. Those are great things when they come back. It's just when you're dealing with, a lot of outside things going on, it's hard to get, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to focus a little bit when they need to. So that's my job, and we'll try to stay hooked up on that responsibility.
Well, Choctaw's going to be ready. What do you know about Choctaw going in?
They're ranked, I believe, 6th or 7th right now. Got a good young coach in there. Coach Corbin's doing a good job over there. They've been through a couple of different coordinators, so they're not quite the same as they were last year. They're not quite as big and physical as they were last year, but man, they are long and athletic. They've got a free safety that's signed with Oklahoma. They've got a really good athletic quarterback who runs the football really well and throws it decent. So we'll have our hands cut out for our work cut out for us on the road, trying to bounce back and play better. I told our kids this week, we need to play better. We need to eliminate some mistakes and maintain possession of the ball and give our defense, who's kind of carrying us right now, a chance to keep us in the ball game.
Yeah, Choctaw, the Wildcats on the road, and you can hear all of the action on your home for Wildcat Sports on the radio, 100.7 FM, KPNC. Jordan Woodruff will be on the road with the Wildcats with the call, and the live video stream with broadcast audio will be available at PoncaCityNow.com. And of course, homecoming for the Wildcats right around the corner, October 9th, Putnam City West comes to town. We'll talk more about that game next week. Will be homecoming week for the Wildcats. So Pohai Wildcat football in the middle of a pandemic, and really you got to be grateful for the blessings that your team's getting the chance to play. There are a lot of teams around the state that haven't had the opportunity, or they've had to cancel games. So far, we haven't been in that position. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's an ongoing practice every day to keep your team healthy.
It is, without, giving out names or anything, we're down 17 bodies from our original roster right now due to COVID and some other things that kind of come, COVID injuries, a few other issues that we're dealing with right now. So I counted yesterday from our original roster, we're down 17 kids. We won't make any excuses. It really hurts your depth. I don't think we've started the same offensive line at any one point during any one of the games that are completely the same. So we're having to adjust, and I really want to brag on our kids. Our kids come and go to work every day. We're dealing with these restrictions. We haven't been able to get in the weight room necessarily like we really want to. We don't get to meet like we necessarily really want to. So these kids are going above and beyond what they normally would do in order to give themselves a chance to play. I want to say the same thing about our staff. We're trying our very hardest. We have not had to, cancel on our end. We have had other games canceled, obviously with Ardmore. That's certainly a possibility. We won't know for sure about next week until after this Friday, and we get our information in Putnam City's, administration makes their decision. So it's just an ever evolving situation. And I want to tell our kids how much I appreciate their patience and their work ethic during this pandemic.
Yeah, they're really rising to the level that they need to rise to. And certainly examples of that already. Numerous examples of that, and good to mention that a lot of those 17 players that are off the roster temporarily, a lot of those more than likely close contact. So out of an abundance of caution, they're quarantining away from the team for whatever reason. Flipping it around to a positive, as you said, a lot of players that perhaps wouldn't get a chance to start in a varsity game, they're getting a chance to get some experience and get some snaps, right?
You bet. And we always talk about, you always deal with injuries during football. So you always have to we always talk about the next man up and always being prepared. Our philosophy is to keep things really simple so that when kids come in, they don't have to think, they can really just kind of go play. So we're dealing with a lot of that right now. A lot of these kids, we start a lot of sophomores. We're getting a lot of reps with kids that normally may have to get those situations in JV games, but now we're kind of getting those guys in varsity nights. And I like that better because it's more of a heated environment and we get a better evaluation of how the kid will really be when the going gets tough. Just sometimes that's really kind of hard to tell in a JV game on a Monday night. There's not a lot of preparation that goes into those things. You just kind of go and wing it a lot of the time. Now these kids are getting in what I call under the lights on Friday night, and that's a much better indication of how they can help us in those situations.
Yeah. Well, the Wildcats on the road, Choctaw this Friday night. Again, all the action on 100.7 FM KPNC. The live video stream will be available with that broadcast audio at punkcitynow.com. And of course, next week, Putnam City West will be in town on October 9th for homecoming at Sullins Stadium. And we'll all look forward to that. We'll talk more about that game with Coach Harmon next week on this show, Coach's Corner. Coach Scott Harmon, thank you for being our guest on this edition of Coach's Corner.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You too. That's Coach Scott Harmon, head coach of the Pohai Wildcats, and that is going to do it for this segment. Now, the next segment you'll find on your playlist will be Coach Jenny Hinterreiter, the head coach of the Pohai volleyball team. That's coming up as Coach's Corner continues. Thanks for watching.